You know, when I first bought Mario Kart as soon as it came out, I was expecting a slam dunk of a racer. I mean, it's Mario Kart. How could this possibly go wrong? Then I actually played the game and I realized that, yeah, the game has a lot of different issues. And most of said issues have already been covered here on YouTube over and over again. So I don't feel it's necessary for me to sit down and talk to you guys about the various problems I had with Mario Kart World for 10 minutes. However, after I played Mario Kart World, I realized that there was another kart racer releasing this year, and it was going to be Sonic Crossworlds. But I have to be completely honest, after being reminded of how Team Sonic Racing played, I had no hopes for this game. But it wasn't long until Sonic Racing Crossroads had its first online network test, and for news about it to spread all around the internet. And wouldn't you know, people had a lot of nice things to say about the Crossworld beta test. So eventually I managed to play the beta myself and buy the game. So what do I think about Crossworlds? Do I think this is the best racing game for the year, or do I think driving on the open road is much better? Well, let's see. I have to admit, I'm not the type of guy who really pays attention much to the graphics in video games because I always think gameplay takes priority. However, this game's visuals are beautiful and colorful. I think this game is really pleasing to the eyes, regardless of what tracks you happen to be on, and the intro cutscenes to the tracks, while short, are absolutely amazing. I actually didn't want to skip these a good majority of the time because they gave me a really good look of the track and I just couldn't stop looking at it. My only real gripe with the visuals is that some of the models of the characters look plasticky when under an extremely bright light source. It just looks very jarring, but this is more of a nitpick if anything. When it comes to performance, I played this on my PC, which has a GeForce RTX 4090, and I have not experienced any sort of frame drops or crashes with this game thus far. I haven't even run into any real glitches or bugs except maybe this one weird thing that happened when I was playing in Apatos. Yeah, I'm not totally sure what that was all about. Maybe the residents in Apatos decided to stick flypaper to the walls just to troll the racers. But anyway, those are all my comments I had on graphics and performance. I think it's time to finally move on to the main event, which is the gameplay. Before I get into the courses and the overall gameplay, I wanted to talk about the characters, the gadget system, and the customizable vehicles. Before a race, you can pick between a variety of different characters, and before I dive deeper into them and how they work, I just have to praise this roster. There are a lot of Sonic characters to choose from at launch, and I found myself picking a bunch of different characters from this roster. So far, Jet, Wave, and Blaze are my personal favorites to play, but I really feel like Sega did a good job bringing in a bunch of characters that fans really like. On top of bringing characters in that haven't been playable in ages, the Babylon Rogues and Charmy Bee instantly come to mind. And of course, there are other racers on the way as well via a DLC and free updates. In my opinion, this roster is very strong, and it's only going to get better with the DLC. Each character isn't just for flavor though. Every single character in this game has a different type. You have the speed types, which have a high speed stat, the acceleration characters, which have a high acceleration stat, handling characters, which allows vehicles to take tighter turns, power characters, which allows vehicles to recover quickly when they get hit by items and lessens the impact of ramming into other racers, and finally the boost characters, which increases speeds from boosts like panels. My favorite thing about this system is that the vehicles you drive also have these types. So let's say you have a character like Jet, who is a speed type. Great, you have a bunch of speed, but maybe you want to give him a little more acceleration as well, so when you get hit by an item or slowed down by a patch of grass, your vehicle can get the top speed a lot quicker, and then you can take advantage of that speed again. Or maybe you would want to go in a complete different direction with Jet. Perhaps you want to lean into that speed a little more and give him some more boost, so you decide to pair him up with one of the extreme gears so you can be an unstoppable monster. That is until you inevitably get hit by an item which slows your momentum down to a crawl, and you're going to have to spend some time getting all that speed back. But hey, that's the kind of risk you take when making a build like this. It's a really simple addition, but simple additions like this is what I really like about video games. I like it when I have to sit down and think about what I'm doing. I just think this sort of stuff is very engaging. You can also spend the non-pod tickets, which you earn from doing races and challenges, for parts to decorate your vehicle in a lot of different ways. The parts in particular aren't just for show either, as they also affect your stats. I have to admit I didn't really spend a whole lot of time with this, as I am the type of guy who will sit in art class, make a perfect circle, and call it a masterpiece. But don't get me wrong, I really adore the customization they have here. To add onto all this customization, there are also gear parts which allow you to define your playstyle on the track. There are a lot of different gears to mess around with. One of my favorite builds right now is to have the double boost gear so I can take shortcuts as early as possible. Slap on a power gear so getting hit by items won't be a complete nightmare. Trick Expert because I love seeing my character flail like a Magikarp out of water. And this one gear that grants me 2 rings every time I do a trick. And because I have Trick Expert, I'm going to be gaining lots of rings whenever I do tricks. This was meant to be used with the extreme gear so I can keep a massive lead a good majority of the time. Like I said before, there are lots of other gears to try out, so you can go absolutely nuts with the customization here. Now onto the races themselves. Sonic Crossworlds is the standard kart racing affair. You'll be driving around a bunch of different locations within the Sonic universe at blistering speeds. And while you're doing that, you're also constantly using items to get the advantage over your fellow racers. Every track has its own gimmicks, set pieces, and shortcuts to discover. However, the main draw of Sonic Racing Crossworlds are the Crossworlds themselves. During the second lap of every race, there will be 2 options for Crossworlds for the person in first place to choose from. These make the races more dynamic and fresh, as you don't really know which track you're going to end up on for the second lap, and you just might be taken aback with all the sudden changes. Sometimes these Crossworlds also have a green exclamation mark, which means there's going to be a frenzy effect, with these effects ranging from infinite use of an item on that particular lap to adding boost panels all over the map. I think this just makes the races a little crazier in the best possible way. One of my favorite Crossworlds so far has to be Galactic Park. Not only does it look great, but it also has these 2 robots that shoot you just like in Sonic Colors. You gotta love the attention to detail here. There are also times where your vehicle can transform into a plane or a boat, giving you slightly different control schemes, which does help increase the variety in the gameplay. I don't have too many issues with the track layouts themselves, however, it is worth noting that there were times where I felt like the raceway was a little too cramped for my liking. The beginning part of Apatos and the section near the boating part near Water Palace come to mind. It just feels like you slam into every racer and walls all the time in these sections. It's not a huge deal, but I just wish there was a little more space in these sections. There are also times in which the amount of items flying around on screen was a little too overwhelming for me. I know there were a couple of times where I got hit by items repeatedly and I was just disoriented with how many colors were on my screen at one time. But again, this is a rather small complaint and I don't see everybody having this issue. When it comes to the controls, I like to say they're mostly fine. However, there are times where I found myself constantly ramming into walls. I'm not sure if it's a me problem or not, or maybe picking a handling character would actually fix this problem, but that's just something that I personally experience. Also, drifting in the plane is weird. You drift in one angle and you just go shooting up in that direction, and it takes a while to go in a different direction. And turning in the boats are super weird. It feels like whenever I have to make a turn, there's a 50-50 chance of me actually making that turn without ramming into something, regardless if I drift or not. You have to get used to the controls, but it's nothing too difficult or atrocious to learn. Now, before I move on to the modes and side modes, I just want to give out a quick tip. If you're drifting and you suddenly decide you want to drift in another direction without losing your charge on the ground, then quickly remove your finger off the drift button for a second, and then press it again while moving your control stick in the other direction. You can thank me later. When it comes to mode, there's the standard Grand Prix mode where you race through every track the game has to offer on whatever speed you would like to race on. Think of the different speeds as Mario Kart CCs but for Sonic instead. One thing I do have to point out is that the final track of every Grand Prix is just you racing on all 3 of the previous tracks, which I find a little lame. I would have liked to have seen a 4th track instead, but what can you do? I also have to give props to the rival mechanic. Your assigned rival in any given match is probably going to be the hardest CPU to beat in that Grand Prix, and they will constantly taunt you when they pass you, and they will be surprised when you lap them. When I was playing Grand Prix, I really wanted to beat whoever the rival was, so even though it was a minor mechanic, I think its inclusion does add something to the game. There's also the traditional time trial mode where you can compete for times for people within your household or all over the world, and you even get graded Sonic style based on how well you do. So getting a high ranking is always an incentive to play this mode over and over again. And last but not least, we have Race Park. In this place, you are put in the teams, and the main goal is to get as high of a placing in the race while trying to do the objective within the race with your team. There are a few objectives here. There's an objective where if your team taps each other's vehicles several times in a race, then you get extra points for it at the end of the match. Not only that, but you also get like a speed boost and invincibility for a brief period of time. There's also an objective that centers around your team getting multiple boosts. Do be warned that doing the objective only nets your team extra points, so it's up to you and your team to decide if you go for the objective or focus on getting a high place within the race. And to cap things off, Race Park also has custom races that you can do, and there is a lot that you can do with this. You can turn certain items on or off, you can make it so that the race you do is in teams or solo, you can disable or enable certain crossworlds. The amount of customization here is absolutely insane. Now, why this amount of customization wasn't in Mario Kart World Day 1 perplexes me. So even if one doesn't have the internet available, I do think there are plenty of things for players to enjoy even if they're playing with themselves and friends. And speaking of online, online is just about what you expect. You can race solo or with your friends with people all over the world, or you can create your own private rooms with your friends to race. And one of the best parts about this game is crossplay, so no matter where you play, you can always play with your friends if they happen to have this game. When it comes to the servers themselves, I have not experienced any sort of lag. However, there were a few instances where the host would just disconnect from the lobby, and then if I tried to reconnect to the internet, it would just tell me to restart the entire game. This only happened a few times, but it was frustrating regardless. There's also a ranked mode in this game, and I'm not totally sure if you can rank down or not. But if you can't rank down, then there's not much of a point to the rank system, as you'll probably be pitted up against racers of all skill anyway as soon as you hit the legend rank. Future me here, you can lose points for doing poorly in the races, but you don't lose a whole lot, so I don't think you'll actually rank down from losing too many races in a row. Again, this is a minor nitpick, but I would have preferred an actual ranking system for those who desire to be pitted up against more experienced racers. And that concludes my thoughts on the online mode. Let's move straight into the music and audio. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this, as I think music is a very subjective piece, but there are quite a few tracks I like here and there. The Apatos remix, the Supersonic Racing remix, and the Cyberspace remix being some of my absolute favorite tracks in the entire game. Also, props on the guy on the sax in the Cyberspace remix, because holy cow did that send a shiver down my spine the first time I heard it. I mean, just listen to this. You absolutely cannot convince me that this is not amazing. Just mwah! When it comes to the audio in general, there isn't too much I want to say about this other than the fact that characters will constantly say the same things over and over again when they're tricking. I don't have a real problem with this, but for other people this might be annoying. However, this does not apply for the DLC characters. They just make a single noise while tricking, which can be seen as a positive or a negative. On one hand, this is disappointing to me because all the characters are just going to make one noise over and over again. But then again, there might be some people who enjoy hearing the single noise rather than the same 2 or 3 lines over and over again. Let's see, there isn't anything else I really want to say about this. Oh wait a minute, Silver, say the thing! It's no use! I love that line. I don't think I can quite call Sonic Crossworlds a complete replacement for Mario Kart World overall, but mainly because there's no telling what the future holds for Mario Kart World. And if this year's Mario Kart didn't do it for you, then I would certainly pick Sonic Crossworlds up. It's been a while since there has been a game where it slept rent-free in the back of my mind, nagging me to keep playing it over and over again. Whether you're a Sonic or a kart racing fan, there's something here for everyone to enjoy. And the DLC basically ensures that this game will have a very bright future down the road. And with that, that concludes my review on Sonic Crossworlds. Now if you guys don't mind, I'm going to hop to a Crossworld myself and hope I don't get into the Fire World. See ya. Oh hey, you made it through to the end of the video. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for watching this video. Believe it or not, this was actually the first video I ever edited. So if you have any feedback considering how I did things in this video, please leave a comment down below. I would absolutely love to hear your responses, whether they are positive or negative. I know it has been a very long time since I've uploaded to this YouTube channel, but I do have ideas for other videos in the pipeline. So if you really like this video, or if you want to see more videos like this, then feel free to leave a comment and like and subscribe. Peace!